The HOA president knocked on my door and vanished before sunrise. I didn't call her that night. She just showed up, standing under my porch light, smiling like she knew something about me I didn't. She said she needed to discuss an urgent HOA matter. But when I opened the door the next morning, her car was still there. Her phone was still buzzing on my porch. And she was gone. Pause. Subtle eerie background hum. Before I tell you what really happened that night, you should know. This isn't the first time someone disappeared from our neighborhood. Hey everyone. Welcome back to HOA Stories. I'm Jake, your neighbor who's just trying to survive another week under the world's craziest HOA. If you've ever hated HOA rules, or had a nosy board member at your door at midnight, then hit that subscribe button, and comment BOOHO below if you've ever wanted to fight back. And don't forget to share this video with that one friend who still thinks HOA presidents are normal people. That night still echoes in my head. The sound of her knock. 3 short taps. Soft, but confident, like she already owned my front porch. It was 10:47 p.m. I know because I just turned off my TV and was halfway through my midnight cereal when the knock came again, louder this time. No one knocks that late in our neighborhood, unless it's trouble. I peeked through the blinds, and there she was, Mrs. Langford, our HOA president, still in her business blazer, hair too perfect for the hour, holding a manila folder like it was a weapon. My first thought, great, another citation about my mailbox light. But there was something different about her tonight. Something off. Her smile wasn't the usual fake, good neighbor kind. It was thinner, tighter. Her eyes darted past me, scanning my living room, like she was making sure no one else was inside. I opened the door halfway. Everything okay, Mrs. Langford? She took a breath. I just need a minute of your time, Jake. It's important. Her tone was softer than usual, almost nervous, and that alone made me nervous. She stepped in before I could answer. The smell of her perfume hit first, sharp, citrusy. Then the sound of her heels clicking across my tile. She looked around, like she expected to see something, or someone. I came to talk about a situation, she said. There's been some complaints about noise coming from your house. Noise? At midnight? I laughed. I live alone, Mrs. Langford. She smiled again, forced. Yes, I know. The way she said it froze me for a second. I know. Her eyes lingered on the hallway leading to my basement door, and my skin prickled. You mind if I sit? She asked. Before I could reply, she was already on the couch, crossing her legs slowly, placing that folder on her lap like it was evidence. She kept tapping the cover with one manicured finger, like she was working up courage to open it. I think someone in this neighborhood is hiding something, she whispered. And I think you might know who. I stared at her, completely lost. What are you talking about? She didn't answer, just opened the folder. Inside were photos, grainy, black and white security camera shots. A person, maybe me, standing in front of a storage shed behind the HOA park. Around midnight. Where did you get these? Asked. Anonymous tip, she said. Someone said you've been going to the park after dark. I laughed again, but my throat was dry. Mrs. Langford, this is ridiculous. That's not even. She cut me off. Jake, I know what's under that shed. Silence. Only the hum of my fridge in the background. Her eyes met mine. For a moment, I thought she was bluffing. Then I saw the fear behind her mascara-lined eyes. She wasn't accusing me. She was warning me. Whatever you're doing, she said, voice shaking slightly, stop before someone gets hurt. I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't come. And then she stood, gathered her folder, and said quietly, I shouldn't have come here alone. She walked to the door, turned her head halfway back. You didn't hear anything tonight. Understood? And just like that, she was gone. The porch light flickered once as she stepped into the dark. I stood there for a long time, watching her taillights disappear down the street, trying to figure out what just happened. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of sirens. 2 police cruisers, 1 ambulance, and half the HOA board standing near the park entrance. I walked over, heart pounding, and saw the yellow tape around the small wooden shed behind the playground. Officer Reed, a local cop I'd met once at a barbecue, recognized me. "Morning, Jake. You live on this block, right?" "Yeah." "What's going on?" He glanced toward the shed. "Someone found a purse and car keys out here early this morning." My stomach dropped. "Who's missing?" He checked his notes. "HOA President, Linda Langford." I froze. The world went quiet, like someone turned down the volume on everything. "She was at my house last night," I said automatically. "She left around 11. The officer's pen stopped. "Can you repeat that?" I told him everything. The knock, the folder, the photos, every strange word she'd said. Reed wrote it all down, but his face said he didn't believe half of it. He finally closed his notebook and said, "If she contacts you, call us immediately." I nodded, but inside I was spinning. Why had she come to me? Who took those photos? And what was she talking about under the shed? That evening, I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. Every sound, every glance, every word. And then I noticed something new. Her perfume. It still lingered on my couch. On the air, faint but real. Like she'd just stepped out a minute ago. I turned on the lights. Checked my front door lock. Then looked outside. Her car, a silver Lexus, still parked 2 houses down. No police tape around it. No sign anyone had even opened it. I walked closer, pretending to take out my trash. And that's when I saw it. Her folder. On the passenger seat. Same one she'd shown me. Same one she'd taken when she left. I tried the door, unlocked. The inside smelled faintly like her perfume again. And something else. Metallic, cold. I reached for the folder. But before I could touch it, a voice behind me said, "Can I help you, Jake?" I turned. It was Dennis, the HOA Vice President. Tall, tan, polo shirt tucked into jeans too tight for his age. He was smiling, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just checking something," I said. "She was here last night." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, we know. Funny though, her GPS says she never left this street." Then he leaned closer, lowered his voice. "Be careful poking around, neighbor. Sometimes curiosity violates HOA policy." He chuckled and walked away, like he'd just told the best joke of his life. That night I couldn't sleep. The sound of her knock kept replaying in my head. 3 short taps. Soft, but confident. Every creak in the house made me flinch. Every passing car made me check the window. At 2:37 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. I pressed accept and held it to my ear. Static. Then a faint whisper. "Don't trust Dennis." Then the line went dead. I just sat there, staring at the dark. The phone still against my ear. Was that her? Was she alive? Or was someone playing a game with me? I don't know if you've ever had that feeling, where you realize you're already part of something bigger, something dangerous, and it's too late to back out. That's how I felt that night. Standing in my own living room. Lights off. Heartbeat loud enough to drown the silence. Mrs. Langford came to warn me. And now she's missing. And the question that keeps me awake even now is... I couldn't shake that voice. That whisper in the middle of the night. "Don't trust Dennis." It played in my head like a warning I didn't want to believe. But the thing is, it sounded like her. It sounded like Mrs. Langford. I tried calling the number back. But it was disconnected. No record. No trace. The next morning, her car was gone. Just like she was. No tow marks. No neighbors saw a truck. No camera footage from the streetlight either. Like the whole thing had been wiped clean overnight. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about HOA politics anymore. Someone was covering something up. At the community park that afternoon, yellow tape still fluttered weakly in the breeze. But people were already back. Walking dogs, jogging, pretending like nothing happened. That's how this neighborhood works. We bury things fast, literally and socially. Dennis was there, of course, talking with 2 board members, smiling his politician's smile, patting backs, saying all the right things. When he saw me, he waved, like we were old friends, and started walking over. "Hey, Jake. Heard you were one of the last people to see Linda." He said it loud enough for everyone around to hear. I felt eyes on me, neighbors, board members, even the mailman. "Yeah," I said quietly. "She came by my house that night." He crossed his arms. "Any idea what she wanted?" I thought about the photos in the folder. The shed. The whisper. "No," I lied. "She just dropped off some HOA papers." Dennis smiled. But there was something behind it. Something that said he didn't buy it for a second. "Well," he said, "if you remember anything, you know where to find me." Then he leaned in close enough that I could smell his cologne. And whispered, "She had secrets, Jake. The kind that get people in trouble." Then he walked away, leaving me frozen in that perfect HOA park, with its freshly cut grass, and something ugly hiding just beneath it. That night, I went back to the park. I told myself it was curiosity, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. I needed to see what was under that shed. The park lights shut off at midnight, so I waited in my car across the street. Engine off, windows cracked, listening to the hum of crickets. At 12:43 a.m., I grabbed my flashlight and crossed the road. The air felt heavy, like the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. The wooden shed sat at the far end of the park, behind the swings, half hidden by tall bushes. It looked harmless. White paint peeling, rusty lock, the usual HOA storage for fertilizer and cones. But as I got closer, I noticed the ground beneath the door looked disturbed, like someone had dug there recently and covered it up again. I crouched down, brushed the dirt away, and found something metallic. It was a small key, half buried, stamped with the letters HOA P1. I pocketed it and turned the shed lock. It clicked open easily, too easily, like it had already been unlocked before. Inside, it smelled of paint thinner and mold. But there was something else too. Something faint and sour, like old metal and wet earth. I swept my flashlight across the room. Lawn chairs, bags of soil, and a wooden crate, with a number stenciled on the side, P1. I opened it, and inside were folders, dozens of them, each labeled with a house number. 2031, 2032, 2033. Mine was there too, 2034. My hands shook as I flipped it open. Inside were photos, notes, and reports about me, like a private investigator's file. They knew when I went to work, when I took out the trash, even when I had guests over. There were timestamps, camera angles, and one photo that made my blood run cold. It was me, standing at my front door, talking to Mrs. Langford, taken from across the street. The same night she disappeared. Something moved behind me, a soft creak, like a shoe on wood. I spun around, but saw nothing. Then a low voice whispered from outside the shed, "You shouldn't be here." My flashlight flickered, then went out completely. The next thing I saw was a shadow moving past the door. Tall, slow, deliberate. I pressed myself against the wall, holding my breath. After a few seconds, it was gone. The night went silent again. I grabbed my folder and the key, and slipped out through the back panel of the shed, barely daring to breathe. When I got home, it was past 2 a.m. I locked every door, every window, and spread the contents of the folder across my kitchen table. Photos, notes, maps of the neighborhood, and a handwritten list labeled Active Observations. Next to my name, there was a checkmark, and the words, Contact initiated. Potential risk. My name wasn't the only one. There were 5 others. All neighbors. 3 of them had moved out months ago. 1 house had been sold suddenly. And 1, 2037, belonged to Mrs. Langford. Her name wasn't crossed out. It was circled in red ink. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I drove past her house. It was quiet. Mailbox stuffed with letters. Lawn already turning yellow. Then I saw her husband, Mark, sitting on the porch, head in his hands. I parked and walked over. He looked up, red-eyed, exhausted. "Any news?" I asked softly. He shook his head. "They think she ran away. Said maybe she couldn't handle the pressure of the HOA." He laughed bitterly. "She loved that damn HOA more than me." Then he looked at me strangely. "Did she come by your house that night?" I hesitated, then nodded. His eyes narrowed. "What did she say?" I told him she mentioned someone hiding something, and that she seemed scared. But I didn't tell him about the folder, or the shed. He rubbed his face. "She told me last week she'd found something in the HOA records. Something she wasn't supposed to see." "What kind of something?" asked. He shrugged. "She said it had to do with the budget, and a property that doesn't exist." That night, I checked my own HOA statements online. Everything looked normal. But when I clicked deeper into the archived financials, I found a payment labeled Park Maintenance, P1 Project. The same P1 that was printed on that crate in the shed. It showed monthly payments, large ones, but no invoices, no signatures, no approval notes. The total added up to over $70,000. Where the hell was that money going? At 11:50 p.m., I got another text. From a blocked number. "You found it, didn't you?" I froze. Typed back. "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then came one last message. "Stop digging, or you'll end up like her." I didn't sleep that night either. Every sound outside felt like someone watching. Every shadow on my wall looked like a silhouette. Somewhere in this perfect, peaceful neighborhood, someone knew what was under that shed. And they wanted me to stop. But the more they warned me, the more I knew. I wasn't stopping. I have one question for you all. If someone disappeared after warning you about your HOA, would you dig deeper? Or would you pretend nothing happened? Tell me in the comments, backhand index pointing down. I really want to know what you'd do if your HOA president vanished after visiting your house. I didn't want to believe the text was real, but deep down, I knew it was. Someone out there was watching me. They knew I'd found the shed. They knew I had the folder. And they knew I wasn't planning to stop. Every time my phone buzzed, I felt it in my chest, like a shock. I turned off my Wi-Fi, pulled the blinds, and checked the corners of my house, like a paranoid movie character. But this wasn't a movie. This was my neighborhood. A perfect, quiet street, where everyone waves, but no one really smiles. The next morning, I went to the HOA office. It's in the old clubhouse by the pool, where they hold board meetings, and force everyone to pretend we're all a big community. The front door was open, which was weird. It was Sunday. Inside smelled like coffee and printer ink, and that fake lemon cleaner they use everywhere. Dennis was there, alone, typing something on his laptop. He didn't even look surprised when I walked in. "Well, look who's here," he said. "You don't usually visit us, Jake." "I had some questions," I said. He closed the laptop slowly. "About Linda, I assume?" I nodded. He leaned back in his chair, folded his hands behind his head. "Tragic thing, really. But people disappear all the time. Some just don't like being found." I stepped closer. "What was she working on before she went missing?" He smirked. Why do you care? Because she came to my house the night before it happened, I said. She was scared. He tapped his fingers on the desk. She scared herself with all her little investigations. She thought she'd uncovered some big secret. What secret? He smiled wider. You really want to know? I nodded. He leaned forward. The HOA keeps things running smooth, Jake. We handle problems quietly. People who dig where they shouldn't. He paused. Usually regret it. I stared at him, and for a second, I saw something in his eyes. Fear. Not for himself, but like he was afraid of someone else. He stood up. Well, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting. Then he walked out the back door, and left me standing there, alone, in that quiet office full of secrets. I looked around. Everything looked normal, except one thing. A locked file cabinet labeled P1. Same label as the shed. Same label as the hidden payments. I checked the drawers. Locked tight. But remember that key I'd found near the shed? It fit perfectly. The drawer opened with a metallic snap. Inside were files, old photos, maps of the park, and a small black USB drive. The maps were strange. They showed the park's layout from years ago. But the one labeled Phase 1 Construction Plan had something different. Under the park shed, there was a square marked Access Tunnel. No mention of it in newer maps. No mention anywhere else. I plugged the USB into the office computer. Only one video file appeared. No name, no date. Just 28 seconds long. I hit play. Static at first. Then a shaky camera view. Someone walking through a dirt tunnel. Breathing hard. Their flashlight moving across concrete walls. Then the beam hit something. A metal door, with the HOA logo spray-painted across it. And the same words I'd seen on the crate. P1. The camera turned. And for a split second, I saw her face. Mrs. Langford. Her voice whispered through the speaker. They're not supposed to know about this. Then the video cut out. I just sat there, staring at the frozen screen. Heart racing. Hands cold. She found something. Something the HOA had buried, literally. I copied the file to my phone, closed the drawer, and got the hell out of there. That night, I went back to the park. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my buddy Mike, who lives 2 houses down. I parked in the same spot as before, and walked straight to the shed. The dirt I'd brushed away before was back, freshly packed again, like someone had tried to hide the hole I'd uncovered. I started digging with a small garden shovel. The air was heavy, humid, and I kept glancing at the houses across the street, wondering if someone was watching from behind the curtains. About 2 feet down, my shovel hit something solid. I brushed it off. It was a metal hatch. Same HOA logo. Same words, P1. The lock was rusted. But that little key in my pocket fit again. It clicked open, and a wave of cold air came out, like breathing from underground. A narrow metal ladder led down, into darkness. I took a deep breath, and climbed in. The air smelled like dirt and mildew. The flashlight beam cut through the dark, revealing concrete walls, old pipes, and a single path leading forward. I followed it slowly, each step echoing like footsteps behind me. Then I saw it. Another door. Same as in the video. Same faded logo. But this one had something new. A red smear, like someone's handprint, dragged across the metal. I reached for the handle, and the moment I touched it, the lights above flickered on. Someone had just turned on the power. I froze. Then I heard footsteps, not mine, echoing from deeper inside. Slow, heavy, steady. I turned off my flashlight, backed against the wall, trying not to breathe. The steps stopped right outside the door. Then a voice said softly, "I told you to stop digging, Jake." Dennis. The metal door creaked open, and the light flooded the tunnel. Dennis stood there, sweat on his forehead, eyes wide, like he hadn't slept in days. "What is this place?" I demanded. He looked past me, nervous. "This used to be part of the water system. Decades ago. The HOA took it over." "For what?" He swallowed. "Storage, records, things we don't talk about." "Like what happened to Linda?" He didn't answer, just stared at the floor. "Dennis," I said quietly, "what did you do?" He finally looked up. "She shouldn't have come here alone." Then he whispered, "She's still down here." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" He didn't respond, just stepped aside, and pointed deeper into the tunnel. I took a few slow steps forward, my flashlight shaking in my hand. The tunnel ended at another metal door, slightly open. Inside was a small room, and the smell hit first, old, damp, metallic. The beam of light swept across the floor, and stopped. A shoe, then a hand. And there she was, Mrs. Langford, lying still, pale, her folder beside her, and the same terrified expression frozen on her face. I stumbled back, couldn't breathe. Dennis said quietly, "She wanted to expose everything. The money, the records, the tunnels. She was going to take it public." I turned on him. "What the hell did you people do?" He shook his head. "It wasn't me, Jake. There are others. The HOA's bigger than you think." He looked down the dark corridor again. "They'll come for you now too." I ran, climbed the ladder, burst out of the hatch, and didn't stop running until I reached my car. The night air hit me hard. The park looked so normal again, like nothing had happened. But down there, beneath the playground, beneath the fresh mulch and perfect rules, was the truth. Mrs. Langford hadn't just gone missing. She'd been buried by the same people who sent her to my door. Now I can't stop thinking, if this happened to her, how many others did the HOA make disappear before anyone noticed? Tell me in the comments. Would you ever trust your HOA again, after knowing they're hiding tunnels under your neighborhood park? I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, Mrs. Langford, lying there in that cold tunnel, the same woman who had come to my door asking for help. I could still hear Dennis's words echoing in my head. "She's still down here." The sun rose, but it didn't feel like morning. It felt like the whole neighborhood was pretending nothing happened. The sprinklers came on, the joggers waved, the mail truck rolled by like every other day. But under it all, I could feel it, the rot, the secret, the silence. I drove straight to the police station that morning. I rehearsed what I'd say in my head. The video, the files, the body, the tunnels. I had proof, real proof. The receptionist looked up when I entered. "Hi, I need to report a crime," I said. Her eyes flicked down at my HOA badge on the keychain. I didn't even realize I was still wearing it. She pressed a button under her desk. A door buzzed open, and a tall officer stepped out. "Detective Moore," he said, extending his hand. "Let's talk in my office." I followed him down the hallway. His office was small, stacked with papers and old case folders. He motioned for me to sit. "So," he said, "what's this about?" I told him everything. The shed, the tunnel, the USB, Mrs. Langford's body. When I finished, he didn't say a word, just leaned back, folded his arms, and looked at me for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "You shouldn't be talking about this here." "What?" He glanced at the security camera in the corner, then back at me. "There are things you don't understand." I leaned forward. "Then make me understand." He sighed. "The HOA isn't just a neighborhood committee, Jake. They're part of a network, a private security group, a property development trust, and other interests." I frowned. "What kind of interests?" He shook his head. "The kind that funds our department's new building." It hit me like a punch. "You're saying—" He cut me off. "I'm saying if you push this, You'll end up just like her. I stood up. You're supposed to protect people, not them. He looked genuinely sad when he said, sometimes protecting people means keeping the peace, not telling the truth. I stormed out, heart pounding, the whole world suddenly feeling smaller. Even the police were compromised. Every place I thought was safe wasn't. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. My phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown. We warned you. Then a second one. A photo. My house. Taken just minutes ago. I drove home like a madman. When I got there, everything looked normal. Until I stepped inside. My living room was trashed. Drawers pulled open, files scattered. The USB drive, gone. They'd been here. I grabbed what was left, the paper copies from the shed, and my phone, which still had the video I'd copied. I knew what I had to do. If the police were part of it, if the HOA controlled everything, I'd go public. I opened my laptop, uploaded the video to an anonymous drive, and started writing a post titled, "What My HOA is Hiding Under the Park." I didn't even get halfway before the screen went black. The power cut out. Then, through the window, I saw headlights. 2 black SUVs idling quietly outside. No logos. No plates. I shut my laptop, grabbed my jacket, and ran out the back door. The night air burned my lungs as I sprinted across the yard. I didn't stop until I reached Mike's house. He opened the door, half asleep. "Jake. Dude, what's wrong?" "They're here," I said, breathless. "The HO. They know." He looked confused. "What are you talking about?" "They broke into my house. They took everything. The files, the video." He rubbed his eyes. "Man, you're freaking out. It's just the HO." Then his phone buzzed. He looked down at the screen, and his face drained of color. "What?" I asked. He turned the phone around. It was a message from the HOA group chat. All residents are advised not to speak with Jake Miller until further notice. HOA investigation pending. I felt sick. They'd turned the whole neighborhood against me. For the next few days, no one would look at me. People crossed the street when I walked by. The mail stopped coming. Trash pickup missed my house. It was like being erased in slow motion. Then, late one night, someone slid an envelope under my door. Inside was a photo. Mrs. Langford again. But this time, she was standing. Alive. Or at least it looked like her. The date stamp was from 2 days ago. And a note underneath said, "You saw what you were supposed to see. Stay quiet, or we'll make you forget." I didn't know what that meant, until I heard a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. Not the kind from a neighbor. The kind that tells you whoever's outside already knows you're inside. I looked through the peephole. No one there. But when I opened the door, a small device sat on my doormat. A black audio recorder. I pressed play. Static first, then a voice. Mrs. Langford's voice. "They found me. If you're hearing this, Jake, they're not what they say they are. It goes deeper. The tunnels, the people, the experiments." The recording cut off mid-sentence. I stood there in the dark, the recorder shaking in my hand, my heart pounding so hard, I could barely breathe. That night, I left my house, packed what I could, and drove out of the neighborhood. But as I reached the exit gate, a car blocked the road. Dennis stepped out. No expression this time, just exhaustion. He walked up to my window and said quietly, "You can't leave, Jake. You've seen too much." I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't feel scared, just angry. "Then you'll have to stop me." I hit the gas. The car shot forward. The gate shattered, and for the first time in weeks, I felt free. But I knew it wouldn't last, because whatever the HOA was hiding, it wasn't just about property. It was about control. And I had just become their biggest problem. I don't know where this ends, but one thing's clear. Mrs. Langford was right. The HOA isn't managing a neighborhood. They're managing us. If you found out your HOA was connected to something darker, would you expose them, or pretend you never knew? I drove until the gaslight came on. Didn't care where I was going, as long as it wasn't there. I pulled into a half-broken motel at the edge of town. One of those places that looked like it hadn't been cleaned since the 90s. The sign flickered, vacancy, like it was trying to warn me instead of welcome me. I paid cash. No ID. No name. Just wanted a room where no one knew who I was. When I walked inside, I could still smell the paint thinner and mold. I shut the curtains, locked the door, and sat on the bed. My hands were shaking. Not from fear anymore, but from anger. They'd taken everything. The files. The evidence. Even my reputation. But they hadn't taken the truth out of my head. And I wasn't done. I turned on my laptop, using a portable hotspot I'd hidden in my car. When it booted up, the camera light blinked once. I covered it with tape. You can't be too careful when you're running from people who monitor their own residents. I searched for Langford Development Trust. That was the name on one of the HOA invoices I'd seen earlier. What came up made my stomach turn. The trust wasn't just for my neighborhood. It was tied to over 50 other HOA communities across 3 states. Same bylaws. Same logo. Same board members listed under fake names. And every single one had a property near a water reserve or underground line. I clicked through their financials and saw millions of dollars labeled as maintenance projects. But there were no records of actual work being done. Just like our park renovation, the one that hid the tunnel. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. You shouldn't have left. I froze. Then a second message. The HOA takes care of its residents, one way or another. I turned off the phone, took out the battery, and shoved it in the trash. For the next few hours, I just sat there, listening to every sound outside the window. Every car. Every step. Around 3 a.m., someone knocked on my door. 3 soft taps. My heart stopped. I looked through the peephole. Nothing. Then came a whisper from the other side. "Jake, open up. It's me." It was Dennis. I hesitated but opened the door just a crack. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. He stepped inside, shut the door fast. "I followed you. They're watching the highway exits. You can't stay here long." I backed up. "You're part of them, Dennis. Why are you helping me?" He looked down. I was. But it's gone too far. Mrs. Langford was supposed to expose the board. She had files, documents tying the HOA to something bigger. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a flash drive. This is what they were after. I stared at it. "What's on it?" He glanced at the door. "Something you shouldn't see, but something you have to." I plugged it into my laptop. A folder opened, full of scanned documents, blueprints, and contracts. At the top, Project NeighborNet. Each document was labeled with neighborhood names, resident IDs, and maps of underground connections between developments, pipes, cables, and something called behavioral sync nodes. "What the hell is this?" I asked. Dennis rubbed his face. "They're using the HOA system to collect behavioral data. Patterns of movement, spending, electricity usage, even conversations picked up by smart devices. All disguised as community monitoring." I just stared at him. "So it's surveillance. On all of us." He nodded slowly. "More than that. They're using it to test control models. Who complies fastest? Who resists? Who influences others? They're building psychological profiles of homeowners." It didn't sound real, but the more I read, the more it made sense. Every letter from the HOA, every fine, every random inspection. It was never random. It was conditioning. Then I saw something that froze me completely. A file named Incident, Langford. I opened it. It was a transcript, security audio from the night she disappeared. She's seen the data. Then deal with it. Already handled. The resident won't talk again. The last line hit me hard. They'd silenced her. I turned to Dennis. She's dead, isn't she? He didn't answer. Just looked away. Why show me this now? I asked. Because you're next, he said quietly. They think you still have the files. You can't go back, Jake. Before I could respond, a noise came from outside, the crunch of gravel under tires. Dennis peeked through the curtain. His face went pale. They found us. I looked out. 2 black SUVs again. Same ones from my house. Same tinted windows. Dennis grabbed my arm. There's a back exit. Go now. We bolted through the bathroom window, landing in the alley behind the motel. The cold air hit my face, and for a moment, everything went silent except my heartbeat. Then, engines revved. Flashlights cut through the dark. They were sweeping the lot. We ran. Past dumpsters. Past broken fences. Through an abandoned lot full of weeds and rusted signs. We didn't stop until the town lights were a blur behind us. We found an old warehouse to hide in. The roof leaked. The air smelled like oil and rain. Dennis leaned against the wall, panting. They won't stop. You need to go public before they erase it all. I opened my laptop again, but when I tried to upload the files, the internet was dead. Signals jammed, Dennis said. They have mobile blockers. I stared at the flashing cursor, the drive full of evidence that no one would ever see. Then Dennis looked at me and said something I didn't expect. There's one person who can help. She used to be on the board. She disappeared 2 years ago, before they got to her. What's her name? I asked. He hesitated. Evelyn Chase. I froze. That name was on the old HOA newsletter in my mailbox, from before I even moved in. She's alive. He nodded. If we can find her, we might still have a chance. We stayed quiet after that. Rain hammered the metal roof. Every few minutes, a car passed in the distance. I thought about my old life. Cut grass, quiet mornings, petty HOA letters about mailbox color. I'd give anything to go back. But I couldn't. Not now. Because now I knew what they really were. And they knew I wasn't done. If you discovered your entire neighborhood was part of a secret control experiment, would you risk everything to expose it, or stay silent and safe? We stayed in that warehouse till morning. Neither of us spoke. There was nothing left to say. The rain did all the talking. When the light finally crept through the broken roof, Dennis looked like a man who hadn't slept in years. We move at sunrise, he said. They'll track the car you drove here. Where are we going? I asked. He looked up, eyes hollow but steady. To find Evelyn Chase. We took an old pickup from a junkyard Dennis knew. No GPS. No phones. Just a paper map and the kind of fear that keeps you alive. Evelyn used to live 2 towns over, in a neighborhood called Willow Glen Estates, another HOA development. But that place had been shut down years ago. Flooding, the report said. Right. The drive was silent except for the hum of the road and the occasional hiss of Dennis lighting another cigarette. Why did she leave? I asked finally. He didn't look at me. She found something. Something about where the money was going. The last thing she said before she vanished was that she was being followed. I glanced out the window. Every car behind us felt like a threat. Every reflection in a gas station mirror made me flinch. I wasn't paranoid anymore. I was careful. By the time we reached Willow Glen, the sun was low, bleeding orange across the sky. The place was dead. Rows of perfect houses, boarded up, silent. Lawns overgrown. Mailboxes rusted shut. The kind of neighborhood that looks like everyone left in the same hour. This place gives me the creeps, I said. Dennis nodded. Good. That means you're still sane. We parked near the old community center. The HOA sign was still there. Willow Glen Estates, a perfect place to belong. Someone had spray-painted over it in red. Liars! The doors were chained, but Dennis had a way with locks. 2 clicks, and we were inside. It smelled like dust and mold. Chairs stacked on tables. Old banners saying, "Annual Board Gala." Then Dennis stopped. He pointed to a corner room. A faint light was coming from inside. We crept closer. The door was half open. Inside sat a woman. Gray hair, sharp eyes, typing on an old laptop that looked like it shouldn't even work. She didn't look surprised to see us. "Close the door," she said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Dennis did. She looked at me, then at him. "So, they sent you to finish the job?" Dennis raised his hands. "No. We're not with them. We need your help." She smiled bitterly. "Everyone says that before they disappear." I stepped forward. "My name's Jake. I lived in Pinewood Meadows, Mrs. Langford's neighborhood." Her expression changed. "Langford? She's gone," I said quietly. "They killed her." Evelyn's eyes flickered with something. Anger, grief, maybe both. "She tried to warn me once. I didn't listen." Dennis pulled out the flash drive. "She left this behind. You were on one of the documents. Project NeighborNet." Evelyn froze. "You have that?" I nodded. She stood up, pacing. "That project was never supposed to exist. It started as a behavioral survey, simple data collection for city planning. Then they expanded it, connected multiple neighborhoods. They started testing influence, pressure, and compliance under controlled environments." "Controlled how?" I asked. She turned to me, eyes cold. "Through fear, fines, and conformity. They discovered people obey faster when the punishment is social, not physical." Dennis frowned. "So all the rules, the letters, the fake power trips." She nodded. "Part of the model. They use HOA boards to test how far people will go to enforce nonsense if it gives them authority." It made sense in the worst possible way. HOA presidents weren't just controlling neighbors. They were test subjects too. Evelyn went to her laptop and opened a map. Red dots scattered across several states. Each dot labeled with a familiar phrase, "Community Integrity Zone." "These are active test sites," she said. "And Pinewood Meadows is one of the biggest." My chest tightened. "So what's under the park?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Storage. For data, and for subjects." "Subjects?" I repeated. "People who resisted too much." My stomach turned. "You mean?" She nodded slowly. "Some of them don't come back. They say they moved. They didn't." The room went silent. I could hear my heartbeat, loud and heavy. Dennis looked like he was going to be sick. "They can't keep doing this," he said. "They'll get caught eventually." Evelyn shook her head. "They own too much. The banks, the land, even the police. You think the station doesn't know? They built it with HOA money." I leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of it all. The missing files, the tunnels, the fake fines. It was never about lawns or fences. It was about obedience. Then I heard something outside. A crunch, like footsteps on gravel. Evelyn froze. Dennis moved to the window, peeked out. His face went pale. 2 black SUVs. "They found us," he whispered. Evelyn closed her laptop. "There's a tunnel under the storage closet. It leads to the woods. Go." "What about you?" I asked. She smiled sadly. "I'll hold them off. I've been running for years. I'm tired." Dennis grabbed her arm. "Come with us." But she shook her head. "If I go, they'll track you faster. I'll buy you time." Before we could argue, she shoved the flash drive into my hand. "Take this to the media. Not the local stations, their own too. Find someone outside the system." She pushed us toward the back door. The sound of engines revved outside. Lights flashed through the windows. We ran. Down a narrow hallway. Through the closet. Into a dark, narrow tunnel that smelled like earth and rust. Behind us, we heard shouting. Then gunfire. Evelyn's voice echoed faintly. Go. Don't stop. We crawled through the tunnel until we saw daylight ahead. When we emerged, we were deep in the woods behind Willow Glen. The air was thick with fog and pine. Dennis was bleeding. A scrape along his arm. You okay? I asked. Yeah. Just a scratch. We sat there for a minute, catching our breath, listening to the distant engines fade. Evelyn's words echoed in my head. Subjects who didn't come back. If that was true, Mrs. Langford wasn't the only one. And if they had this kind of power, who else did they make disappear? That night, we found an old cabin near the edge of the forest. No lights, no power, just silence. I stared at the flash drive in my hand, the one Evelyn had died for. Somewhere on it was the truth. But exposing it meant one thing. We'd never have a normal life again. Dennis stared out the window. They'll come for us again. You know that, right? I nodded. They already have. If you were in Jake's place, hiding from a powerful HOA that controls entire towns, would you go public with the evidence, or disappear forever? We stayed hidden for 2 days. Barely spoke. Barely slept. Every sound in the woods felt like a threat. Every branch snap made my heart race. By the third night, Dennis was pacing. We can't stay here forever, he said. They'll scan this area soon. I looked at the flash drive sitting on the table. The one Evelyn died protecting. The one that probably had every answer, and every reason to die. He was right. We had 2 choices, run again, or finish this. I made the choice that scared me the most. We go back, I said. To Pinewood Meadows. Dennis stared at me like I'd lost my mind. You want to go back? They'll kill you. Maybe. But whatever's under that park, that's where it all started. We left before sunrise. Took the back roads. Avoided cameras. By dusk, the town's perfect streets came into view again. Nothing had changed. Lawns trimmed. Flags flying. Lights in windows. Like nothing ever happened. But under that calm surface, I could feel the hum. The quiet, invisible heartbeat of something rotten. We parked behind the old maintenance shed near the park. The same shed where I first found the tunnel. It looked untouched. Except now there was a padlock on the door. Dennis cut it open with bolt cutters. The smell hit first, damp, cold, metallic. We climbed down the ladder. The same echoing tunnel. Same flickering lights. Only this time, we kept going. Deeper. The air grew colder. The walls smoother, like concrete poured by machines. Then we saw it. A massive steel door at the end of the passage. Marked only with the letters, Zone 3, active. Dennis swallowed hard. You sure about this? I nodded. Evelyn died for what's behind that door. We found a control panel beside it. A keypad with a small red light. Dennis fiddled with it. After a few tries, it beeped, and the door slid open with a low hiss. Inside was something I'll never forget. Rows of glowing servers lined the walls. Towering machines pulsing with soft blue light. Cables snaked across the floor like roots. In the center of the room, a large, round platform surrounded by monitors. Each monitor displayed faces. Thousands of them. Neighbors. Board members. Families. All labeled with numbers, timestamps, and notes like compliant, unstable, flagged. Oh my God, Dennis whispered. It wasn't just surveillance. It was profiling. Predictive control. They weren't just watching people. They were studying how to break them. Then one monitor changed. The feed zoomed in. My face. Timestamp. Live. They know we're here, Dennis said. The lights flickered. A voice came through the speakers. Calm, male, almost friendly. You should have stayed quiet, Jake. I froze. I knew that voice. I'd heard it at every meeting, every violation notice, every smug phone call about trash bins. Mr. Holbrook, the HOA President. Only, he'd been out of town for weeks. He laughed softly. You've gone further than most. Mrs. Langford tried too. Dennis, I'm surprised at you. Dennis looked up at the speaker, pale. You don't have to do this, Holbrook. Of course I do. You both saw what's underneath the neighborhood illusion. You think you're uncovering corruption, but you're part of a system older than this town. I yelled back. What system? The compliance model, he said. Created to study how humans self-police under pressure. We started with workplaces, moved to neighborhoods, now entire cities. I shook my head. You're experimenting on people. We're improving them, he replied. A world without chaos, without rebellion. A world that runs itself. The monitors around us shifted again, showing other neighborhoods. Different towns. Different faces. Every one labeled active. There were hundreds. Maybe thousands. Dennis grabbed the flash drive. We can expose this. We just need to get out. But as he turned, alarms blared. The door behind us slammed shut. I warned you, Jake. Once you enter the system, you don't leave. I looked at Dennis. He looked at me. We both knew what we had to do. I ran to the nearest server tower and pulled a pipe from the wall. Sparks flew. Electricity crackled. The voice shouted, "Don't be stupid, Jake. You'll destroy years of progress." "Good," I said. And I swung again. The whole room erupted in alarms and smoke. Monitors shattered. Lights flashed red. Dennis grabbed my arm. "Go." The emergency tunnel. We ran through the smoke. Coughing, blinded by flashing lights and burning circuits. Behind us, the servers exploded one by one. A storm of sparks and static. We found a narrow escape hatch, climbed up the rusted ladder, and burst out into the night air. The park above was empty, silent, except for the faint hum beneath the ground. A dying system gasping for power. We collapsed on the grass. Smoke rising from the cracks near the swings. The neighborhood lights flickered, then went out completely. For the first time in months, there was silence. Real silence. Hours later, when the police came, there was nothing left under the park. No servers. No tunnels. Just dirt. The HOA called it a gas line malfunction. The news called it a freak electrical fire. But I knew better, and so did Dennis. They erased it all. Again. But they couldn't erase us. I live off-grid now. Different name. Different town. Sometimes I still see HOA flyers in mailboxes. Same logo. Same tagline. Because community matters. And every time I see it, I wonder how many people are still trapped in their perfect neighborhoods. Still being watched. Still being tested. Still playing a game they don't even know exists. A few nights ago, I got an email. No sender. Just one line of text. Project NeighborNet, rebuilding phase initiated. And attached was a photo. Mrs. Langford. Smiling. Standing in front of a new neighborhood sign. Welcome to Oak Valley HOA. If you learned your HOA was part of a secret human control experiment, would you fight back, or would you move away and never speak of it again?